your host, Deborah Duncan.
Thank you very much. Okay, our first guest on the show are gonna make you laugh. We already saw it happen with everybody on our staff. They're both comedians who play a little game. After seeing their act on MTV, you won't introduce people the same.
That was impressive.
This my cousin Ashley. She graduated from 9 schools. I always say Jenkins because she look like Velma from Scooby-Doo.
The show is called Wild and Out on MTV, and comedians Chico Bean and Reggie, Conceited, Sergile, are getting wild with us this morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Miss Deborah. How are you?
I'm very good. Well, thank you very much. All right, so you are from where?
Washington, D.C.
Washington,
Born and raised in Washington,
okay, so if you're going to be a comedian coming out of D.C., there's lots of material to work with, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Very much so. Very much so.
But outside of that, being a comedian, and we oftentimes ask folks who make a life out of making us laugh, where that sense of humor came from for them. And sometimes it comes from a tough place.
Well, for me, it comes from just life. You know, I've went through a lot of different things, you know, losing my father at a young age and growing up with a very unique family base. So a lot of my comedy just comes from the things that I do on a day-to-day basis. And I think that most of the comedy that we experience just comes from the things that we enjoy, or, you know, secretly or, you know, openly. So I just try to touch on the things that I think people will, you know, identify with that I go through on a day-to-day basis.
You say unique family base. What do you mean by that?
Just my family was crazy. That's all. You know, unique is just the best way to use it when you're on the news and somebody might see it and be like, "Hey man, what the hell you talking about on the news?" So yeah, it's just I just use unique to be safe.
Yeah. All right, Reggie, you were a rapper and you're from Brooklyn.
Yes, Brooklyn. What happened is I'm a battle rapper, so it's not exactly a rap.
Right.
So with battling, you know, it's just two opponents going head to head for straight blood.
For straight blood.
Yes, like, and so
you a fighter.
Right. And then when Nick hit me to be on the show, I was like kind of scared, because I'm like, I'm not a comedian.
Yeah.
Because I don't tell jokes, I just rap. And he was like, but the angle that we're going now, we have the wild style, you could just use that. And
you need
just
the improvisation.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's where the battle comes in. And then with the battle part,
exactly.
Right?
So we have a segment called Wild Style, which is at the end of every show. And then that's when I'll come in and just use my whole battle rap techniques and
yeah, y'all get ready because he's going to do it on our audience. Y'all going to do that on our audience today. But yeah, it is kind of a unique style. You said when Nick discovered you, because what's kind of cool about this is that you were doing your thing and then Nick Cannon discovered y'all. How did he figure out who you were?
Well, I have a friend of mine who worked with Nick. She was his assistant, a lady by the name of Dolly Bishop, and she was working, and he had a show called the Fresh Faces of Comedy he was doing up in New York, and he invited me up to do the show. So I went up, and then when I got there, the owner of the club didn't know who I was, so he said, "You can't curse, you can't say the N-word, you can't talk about sex," and this was all the jokes that I had at that time. So I had to go outside and kind of redo my whole set, and I did, and I just talked about what happened to me that day. When I got off stage, Nick was impressed, and he said, "Keep working." Fast forward about a year, almost 2 years later, I found out they're doing the auditions for Wild and Out. I drove down in my 2003 Saturn Vue and auditioned, and I had to audition 3 times to get on the show, and I finally made the show after the 3rd audition, and you know, the rest is history.
Yeah. And Reggie, you're kind of like the new way that a lot of people have been discovered.
Yeah, so what happened with me, he hit me on Twitter, and I couldn't believe it. So I get a DM, he was like, "Hey, I love your battles, I'm bringing Wild and Out back." I'm like, "Is this Nick Cannon?" And he had his shirt off in the pic, so I really didn't want to look at the picture.
Oh, he had his shirt off?
Yes,
I could have told you whether it was Nick Cannon or not. Yes.
So, and I was like, "Is this really him?" He said, "We have auditions tomorrow." So I had a battle Sunday. The audition was on Monday. And when I walked in, he knew everything about the battle that happened the day before, and I couldn't believe it. So, and then I went in for one audition and killed it. Yeah. And then I just been on it. Yeah, and I've been on since.
Really cool, because it truly is where rap meets comedy, and there's different types of comedy. There are people who have their sets and they'll do that same set for like, you know, a whole year or so.
Right.
And then there are folks like you just said, you walk in and all of a sudden it changed because there's something that happened that day.
Right.
That's a skill set.
See, and that's the thing exactly with the battles. We can't repeat it ever. We do it one time, and the next opponent has to be everything brand new.
Yeah. Okay, so can you show us like kind of how it works here? We saw some clips there, but and I had a really bad attempt at the top of the show.
No, that was not a bad attempt, man. First of all, the fact that you kept your cadence throughout the entire time off of a teleprompter is impressive. Because most people can't read.
Yeah.
So you're amazing.
Well, maybe Nick Cannon's watching. I'll be joining you guys.
Hey, I hope so. I hope you can come on out. We'll make a way for you.
For the show tonight, we should have as a special guest and come on stage.
I know, right? They love you in Houston, I'm sure.
All right, let's try it out on our audience here.
Okay, so the cadence is at the family reunion. Who we introducing, and I'll say that right there is Scarlett. You can tell from her pearls that she's important, but from the way her tongue hang out, she should change her name to Michael Jordan. At the family reunion, who we introducing, all right, yeah, we, the white people kind of lost the cadence of the clap right there.
It happens.
But it happens. Salute to you guys. That's we didn't expect you guys to run it all the way through, but you guys held on as long as you could. We appreciate it. Yeah, they was like, we got it. No, we lost it.
Okay, it's really cool. Have you ever had a moment where you did lose it?
Oh, we lose it all the time. But that, the funny part about it is like the natural comedy of, just seeing guys improv and mess up, and it's even funnier when somebody messes up to me than it is when you get it right, because
and especially when they get it back.
Yeah, because
exactly.
Before y'all were born, there was this thing called the Carol Burnett Show.
Oh, I know the Carol Burnett Show.
And it was he's like, how? Okay, but it was so funny because there was those moments where they messed up where you're right, it became the funniest thing. There's things that are planned, and then when things aren't planned, but for the most part, y'all, there is no script.
Well, let me ask you a question. Like, being as though you've been doing television for 30 years, I was told before we got on the show.
I started in kindergarten.
Okay. Well, yeah. Well, that's a good place to start. But like, in times of doing this type of
Who told
platform,
you I've been doing it for 30 years?
one of these people around here, they probably will lose their job if I tell. So I'm not going.
Not quite 30 years, people. If you're doing the math.
But like when the teleprompter doesn't scroll right, or you have to
Let me just
improv.
get something straight here.
Yeah.
Okay, the teleprompter is for the intro and the tags, right? All the other stuff is coming out of my head.
See, that's what I mean.
See what I'm saying?
Do you choose to rely on that because you know how to improv well, or is it because you're just more comfortable because you're such a professional? Which one is it?
Well, it's just my instincts. Is what it is.
See, that's why I love her.
Everybody knows Deborah Duncan. She got some instincts, and I can't rhyme the rest.
Oh,
Yeah,
she had it.
You almost had it. You got to be a little quicker than that. You almost had it.
So we say family reunion. So
Yes.
why family reunion? I think a lot of us can guess, and what you said a little bit earlier, it's just that just kind of when you do it that way, everybody can relate to family.
Yes, ma'am. But the family reunion is just like you're finding people who are in the crowd, and that's one thing about Wild 'N Out. It's very crowd friendly. So people who come to see the show, they become a part of the show. So it's like you introducing somebody. You say they're your cousin or your uncle or your aunt, and then you have some type of joke. But it's all rooted in what you actually see in your family. The things that we say about each other.
Most of the time, it's somebody in your family just like the person that you're pointing at.
Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely right. Yeah, there's some similarities there. Okay, so if you're going to do one on me, what would you do? If you were introduced me,
for you?
because we're cousins somewhere.
Exactly.
yeah.
All right. Matter of fact, let me get the claps, Chico.
Okay. At the family reunion, who we introduce. Follow me, guys. Who we introduce.
This is my girl Deb, and honestly, I don't want no drama. Nick Cannon don't pay me enough, so can you be my sugar mama?
There we go. Introduce. There we go. That's how it go down right there.
Before I decide if you'll be my honey, I want to know how much you got in terms of money.
There we go. Not much.
I may not make it in that
I know,
case.
right?
Well, guys, it's too much fun, and you can enjoy these guys, Chico Bean and Reggie, Conceited, Sergile, at the Wild 'N Out Live Tour presented by Nick Cannon. That's tonight at 8 p.m. at the Toyota Center, and tickets are available online. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Miss Deborah, for having us. Are you going to come to the show, Miss Deborah?
I'm going to, between homework, algebra tonight with my son, I'm going to try to come to the show.
All right.
All right?
Thank you so much.
We will get you tickets.
Yeah, thank you. Up next, beauty brands to try. Great Days Christina Cooker checks out products to boost your beauty game after the break.